There's one type you'll never date again. Story 1. The gym bro who made everything about fitness. Don't get me wrong, I love staying healthy, but I don't need a lecture about my macros while I'm enjoying my birthday cake. Last straw was when he tried to turn our date night into a couple's workout session. Story 2. Entrepreneurs. Dated a girl who owned her own business. It wasn't her busyness that bothered me. I liked that. It wasn't her independence, that was great. It wasn't her strong character, that was commendable. It was the fact that she believed the sun shone out of her because she owned her own company and the rest of us were just brokey wage slaves who simply did not have the drive that she had. She believed that she was more disciplined, more driven, more intelligent, and overall a superior person to all others just because she had her own business. Those of us who sought after regular employment were simply not as successful or driven as her. I now earn more in my corporate job per month than she did in her busiest months. Story 3. I hate that this post assumes I learned my lesson. Love doesn't work that way. I will continue to make the same mistakes and blame myself each time. Thank you very much. I guess I wouldn't date Charlotte again, so maybe I learned that lesson, but I would date someone like her in a second because I am not very bright. Story 4. Those joylessly frugal. Retire early by depriving yourself of every minuscule joy in life and holding on to every last penny. People. I'd rather work till I'm 75 than retire at 40 and spend the remaining decades of my life using the gross non-dentist accredited toothpaste and taking flights with 4 layovers because it's 100 cheaper. Nobody ever got rich clipping coupons. Story 5. A man who is impulsive and hyperactive. These folks are fun to hang out with from time to time, but when their mood sours they have no control of emotions. Story 6. Someone who is depressed, but doesn't seek help or want to actually do anything to improve their life. It will completely break you if you have to deal with this every single day. All you want is for your partner to be happy, and all of your energy is spent doing whatever you can to help this, all to no avail. Story 7. The annoying connoisseurs of any hobby. If I tell you that I drink instant coffee and milk and you make fun of me saying how I have never drunk real coffee at all, or if an audiophile tells me that I haven't listened to real music because I don't own a poor person's monthly income worth of audio gear, then for that reason I am out, but I wish you all the best, good luck. Story 8. Those that avoid hard conversations for any reason. Being stressed is okay if it's for the sake of a better tomorrow. Put your big girl panties on, and let's chase that to the bottom so we can uproot it and be better for it. I let "this is stressing me out" become a key phrase to drop the situation entirely, which led to festering that have best been done away with. Story 9. Avoidance. No thanks. Not worth the emotional struggle and mental toll you take after you finally give up. Unless they work hard on themselves, it is a fight you cannot win ever. Story 10. The crisis person. Basically people who are habitually going through various crises, most of which being partly or wholly self-inflicted, just gets exhausting. What's worse than the crises themselves is they are somehow unable to operate normally when there isn't any, leading to self-destructive behavior and yet again more crises. There's probably a better term for this behavioral pattern, but it's just maddening to be involved with. Story 11. Don't go mad, but I will never again date a gamer. I found it so lonely both times, and I don't need a lot of attention, just it was so lonely. I even started getting into it too so we had something to do together. I collected all the Gwent cards, I lived in the vault, I tiptoed past clickers, I tried, but it was lonely. Story 12. Girl who says she's spiritual or whatever but is actually just an unhinged drug addict. Yeah, you're Buddhist, right? The crystals and everything, sure. Just say far, far away from me, please. They ain't worth your craziness. Story 13. Smart women who think IQ is their best selling point as a partner. I'm not intimidated by a woman's intelligence, but she's a grown adult still milking her AP credentials. Then she's just vain and insufferable. I was in gifted classes, so I'm right about everything, especially the stuff I never studied. Your onboard CPU may be fast, but it's as useful as the data you feed it. Intelligent people work tirelessly to stay that way, whether it's reading, upskilling, or studying. Story 14. I'm double dipping on this one. Codependency is terrible, but I'm so sick of this new generation of radical independence. Expressing any emotional need and wanting another human to be responsive is weakness, and it's time to grow up and learn to be an island. Every human needs to be a fully self-sufficient universal entity unto themselves. How about no? Story 15. People with BPD or any other avoidant attachment. It's way more trouble than it's more, like trying to build a relationship on quicksand. Nothing is ever stable. Story 16. Materialistic people. Especially if they're broke with expensive taste. The reason I can afford nice and cool adventures is that I don't give about keeping up with the Joneses. Story 17. The victim of every situation. Didn't get the promotion. It's because the boss hates me. Got shat on by a crow. The universe is conspiring against me. Hard to date someone who takes everything personally. Story 18. Women who are much younger. I went out with a woman who was 9 years younger than me for a few years, and I can't complain about how nice she was, but there was a clear difference about where we were in life. Story 19. Girls with armpit hair, pierced nipples, and patchwork tattoos. They smell like patchouli and work as a barista 4 days a week. They have a plot at a community garden and make their own kombucha. They were my weakness in my 20s. I dated like 11 of the same girl in Portland. Half of them were named Emily. Story 20. Closeted LGBT person. They expect me to also jump back in the closet around their family. I understand that sometimes it's a safety thing, but in their case they were treating their identity and mine as something that was shameful and they were indulging in it. absolutely disgusting behavior, that Republicans. Story 21 highly active with multiple partners. Thought they could teach me about and dating, but it turns out they just taught me that having a high need for attention is much more important than being good at when it comes to dating and hooking up. Story 22 dismissive avoidance. We're grown adults. Talk about issues, even if it means ending it rather than playing the magician and mastering the disappearing act. Story 23 gamers, anime lovers. Says he does the evil things he does because of his zodiac sign Gemini, refers to themselves as the devil or something similar. Chronic cheaters. My ex was obsessed with gaming and anime because they were outlets for his pedophilia and finding victims. I know it's not everyone in those categories, but I don't want to risk it due to the extreme trauma. He also was abusive, cheated, and had addiction. Story 24 nerdy nice guy who always tries to bring up his academic and career achievements in order to look smart to cover for how stupid and spineless he really is. Story 25 poly non-monogamous. Complete waste of time for me. A relationship with zero future prospect girls with male best friends. Dated 2, and on both occasions, I was just used to make the best friend jealous and I was dumped the moment the best friend made a move. Story 26 men who exploit the emotional security, stability, and social privilege of a heterosexual relationship as a partner, but wants to exploit the cruising and hookup culture that gay men participate in. Musician that's all. Story 27 commitment phobos avoidantly attached people. If they can't make up their minds over whether they want me or not and can't communicate, there's zero reason to waste your time trying to even get to know them. Until they fix their own problems, they're essentially undateable and will drag you through with them. Story 28 anyone with even a smidge of that princess type. No, your father wasn't the only man in your life who treated you right. He raised an emotionally dysfunctional adult woman. And you need to grow the up without me. I want none of that. Same for if you learned what romance is from the Notebook. Imautai 5000. Story 29 e-girls. Women who go clubbing almost weekly still. Goths emo women. Horse girls. Women who want providers but want to live a modern woman's lifestyle. Nurses. Strippers or general SW, even light SW like Twin Peaks of. Women who think being a crazy is funny or cute. Wanna be influencers. We're almost 30. I'm not competing for you or with you. If we can't build together and have peace, I don't need you around. Story 30 the hyper-independent person. The one who keeps you at arm's length whenever they're struggling because they want to deal with it on their own. My personality is such that when I see my partner hurting or struggling, I want to be there for them, to support them, etc. I feel bad if I'm being forced to sit on the sidelines. Story 31 the polyamorous type. It sounds fun that you also get to sleep with other people, but it turns out not many people want to sleep with someone who's got a poly partner unless they're poly too. And let me tell ya, poly is a type, and if you go poly, you're restricted to poly types. Story 32 political advocates activists, left or right. It consumes their entire personality and life. It's so hard to have normal conversations without something stupid or controversial coming up. Me I like X-musician. Them well did you know they have done X support Y IDGF. Story 33 the type who says I'm not looking for anything serious but still pursues a physical relationship, because more often than not, they want everything from a relationship except the label, nor do they want to give loyalty. Too many times Eve let myself get fooled thinking they just didn't know what they want, or that they wanted to move slowly, or that they wanted a conventional FWB situation. But no, every time they escalate their expectations of you, and take offense to you having any of them, they won't be there for you when you're down, as a friend, or as a lover. What they mean is they want to get something from you, without giving you anything in return. Story 34 witchy hippie. No, I'm not avoiding pennies minted before a certain date this week because Mercury is in retrograde and you're a Scorpio or WTF ever. If you think basic partners are high maintenance, find you someone that cries over water signs. JFC don't get me started. Story 35 severe daddy issues. Dated a girl whose father was so controlling that while she lived with him she wasn't allowed to have a key so that she would be reliant on him to let her in. He was obsessed with being in complete absolute obedience because of misreading the Bible. At first he was fine with me until he realized he couldn't use me to manipulate her into being more obedient to him. I am a Christian and have been since a very young age. He tried using the Bible to convince me that the slightest intendance on her part was a sin, and I was supposed to also be obedient to him since if I married her he would be the patriarch of the family. He had made sure she didn't have real-world job skills and was completely dependent on him financially. When it became clear to her he was never going to accept us, she broke up with me declaring how unchristian I was and I just wasn't the moral kind of person she needed. About 4 years after that and 1 year her sister died, she finally just ran off. She was always bi, but now she just absolutely hates men. Last time we talked on FB it all came out. While I hadn't done any of the things she hated about men, she was certain I would have. Story 36 stupid people, like genuinely stupid. Dated a guy I knew wasn't the smartest. We were in school at the time, and he was failing a ton of classes and was already in the easiest courses possible, but the problem with that was the lack of emotional intelligence as well. Communication was hard and it was just a rough time. I don't need an Einstein, but I don't need a SpongeBob either. Story 37 anyone who lies about anything remotely important, that in itself is fairly subjective, but in referring to things that could have a real impact on the relationship going forward. If someone can't be honest about the most basic of things, it raises red flags all over the place. I've been stung by that a few times and learned the hard way. If someone lead me to believe XYZ, and it turns out there's even a shred of a catfish effort going on, I ran, wish I'd learned that the easy way. Story 38 Substance Abusers. Anyone who has mental health problems they want to address or get help for, I know what it's like to not have access to treatment, but for S sake if you have the means and the ability to get medicine and therapy, get it, I did, and it works. I'm sick of watching people I love and care about killing themselves with drugs and alcohol. It's ended relationships. I have lost friends to drugs and alcohol. I'm also never dating someone who doesn't have their name on a lease, a car, or a solid financial situation. Anyone who has constant stability issues with housing or jobs. I can only empathize so much before I'm looking at one or more of my exes who can't get up in the morning on time to get to work, shows up hungover or calls out because they stayed out the night before around. I'm 35 and I'm not a rehab for messy partners who can't get their together. Story 39 Psychologists. I'm married now but never again. I hate to generalize but most of them get into the field because of their own issues, problems and insecurities. Most of them are functioning alcoholics or have former substance abuse problems. Literal every problem or issue needs to be talked about or becomes an impromptu therapy season. Story 40 Older men. They are too closed-minded, too set in their ways, and while they may act like fun at first they refuse to do anything you consider fun or even do anything that deviates from their normal routine. Story 41 Musicians. I've loved many of them, but ultimately music will always come first in their lives. It will come before their partner, before their friends, before financial security, before their mental health. It's not worth it. Story 42 Women that book the calendar to 110 of its capacity. It's fine to be busy, but there is a performative level of busy, usually hand in hand with performative good doing. Along for the ride is a powerful martyr streak because no one appreciates everything that I do, and the primary relationship always takes a back seat to everything else. How can you expect me to have time for dates and feel sexy with everything going on? Maybe booking less stuff would give you enough breathing space to enjoy time just for us. Crazy concept, but it just might work. Tell me I'm not a priority without telling me I'm not a priority. Oh, and don't forget to shame me for being unsupportive when I don't want to go do all the back-end work for the 4th event this week. Voluntold is a word now. Story 43 Products of extremely broken homes. I'm talking divorced parents who've each been remarried multiple times. Tons of half-siblings that are all trauma-bonded, no conflict management skills, because all they've ever seen is nuclear, and cohabitation as a survival mechanism. All of their friends have WWE storylines. I dated one out of high school that I thought was just a one-off, but then mid-20s a second one, and realized it was a type, not my type, but a type, anyone with substance abuse problems. If you are addicted to smoking weed, make it your entire personality, and just generally look at it as a panacea. I want nothing to do with you. Same for any other drug. Story 44 Musicians. The type who play in dive bars, not serious musicians. By serious I mean guys who play in symphonies or are classically trained, are music teachers themselves etc. Not some random dude who plays cover tributes to feed his ego and isn't actually serious about music. I'm probably digging a deeper hole but the comments in response will give the general persona of the type of guy I'm referring to. Story 45 People who say how their exes treated them terribly, because from experience, it's almost always projecting their behavior, and people who are a lot younger than I am, because the age gap is just going to be an issue. Most people I know that are around the age my ex was 24 have the same problem. They don't know how to say sorry. They have trouble with acknowledging a mistake flaw, like to use the Uno reverse card every time their actions make you react a certain way and they don't like that. And they lack self-awareness which causes them to do everything exactly the same way and not learn and grow from past mistakes. Story 46 Claiming to be insecure right from the start and always boasting about how honest and loyal they are. Guess what? They are using the insecurity part to draw in partners that are insecure themselves, and nobody that's actually loyal and honest will need to boast about it. Beware of people with victim syndrome and remember actions speak louder than words, always. Story 47 The Obsessed with Hello Kitty. Everything that can be pink should be pink. Everything is all lacy bows and cottagecore kind of woman. There's nothing inherently wrong with either of those things, but every woman I've met like that is fully invested into toxic femininity. Story 48 Person that is into casual, isn't casual at all for me, so that doesn't mix someone who claims they're just nonchalant. Usually they're just rude and uninterested and wasting time. Story 49 Oh my god, the ADHD, slightly autistic, crunchy goth girl, swear to god man, dating her was financially and mentally the worst decision I ever made in my life, only 12 more years of child support to send to her. Story 50 Gamers. I don't care if none of them are the same. The trauma is real and it's a visceral reaction when I find out someone games every day. My ex, whom I had a newborn with, would spend 18 hours playing video games. I'd hand him our daughter and he would just lay her on the ground next to him. He never held her or did anything with her, and he's the one who wanted a child. He moved out when she was 6 months old because he raised his hand to me when I told him no to video games because I wanted to watch something. Never, and I mean never again. Story 51 Addict. To be fair to myself, I had no idea about it until the relationship ended once he revealed that he had cheated on me with a rando and risked giving me HIV, but I'm definitely not dating another one. Feminists expecting them to be your priority. Story 52 Dark Military Type. I thought it was cool that he had an interest, guns, knives, military planning, how to take people out for fun. Gore Otherweb, won't get into what else obsessed types. It's fairly scary to me now, don't have the bravery for that, don't want to be connected to that dark stuff at all, that's the only thing. Story 53 Anyone, if, God forbid, something happened to my wife, I know that I'd never bother to date again. The whole idea of trying to explain who I was and learn about someone else, not a chance.